So let me talk to you guys real quick about a game called Solar Ash. Solar Ash is a game that I found randomly on Steam. I couldn't really make out what the game was about off the trailers and some of the screenshots, but decided to try it out anyways as I was looking around for a new game to play. Solar Ash is a parkour action game that kind of centers itself around storytelling, boss fighting, and puzzle solving. Now, while some of the controls and the camera can be a little funky at times, I would highly recommend this game. Now, before I go forward, I am going to go ahead and put this near the beginning of the video rather than near the end, but I am going to go ahead and ask you guys to go ahead and subscribe, maybe even just leave a comment. It helps a lot. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's keep going. In this game, you play as a character that goes by the name of Ray. Ray is a bionic life form and the protagonist of this game. She's a Voidrunner who went on a quest to attempt to save her homeworld from the Ultra Void. At the beginning of the game, you'll start to try to just figure everything out, whether it be the controls, the environment, combat, whatever. During the first portion of the game, you'll come across a large tower. This tower at the very top has what looks like a small star. This is the Star Seed. The Star Seed essentially is your key to drag your planet out of the pool of the black hole, or Ultra Void in this case. Meanwhile, while you're doing all this, you can probably bob your head to some of the coolest tracks I've heard in a while. For a majority of the game, you'll be exploring these almost endless veils of broken societies that came before you. These societies are basically just civilizations or other planets that got pulled into the Ultra Void before your planet did. And while all at the same time fighting these large entities that are called remnants. I'm going to start this review off with the boss fighting, mostly because the boss fighting is the center of the gameplay. While the game itself has a lot of lore to it, most of the time you'll be fighting things, or just simply solving puzzles. And my favorite thing is, well, the boss fighting. Here in this small clip that I'm probably showing you right now, I am running across the back of one of these entities breaking these small capsules. These small capsules are basically large needles that your character are stabbing into the entity all the way up till you get to its weak spot and you deal damage to it. One thing to keep the note is you have a small window between each needle that you can break. If you fail to break all these needles, you will be thrown off the entity, or worst case scenario, just perish. And if you're playing a hardcore scenario, then it's GG. Like most old boss fighting games, all you have to do is hit it 3 times and you win. But each consecutive time you hit it, it gets more difficult. One reoccurring theme with these boss fights is the changing of the bones each time you hit the target, but after the second time you hit it, the black goop is no longer touchable. Touching the black goop would result in a one-shot. There are many types of entities that you can fight in this game, lots of remnants and lots of normal mobs. While I'm not going to sit here and spoil them all for you, I can assure you they're not all worms. Some of my favorites are the humanoids. Fighting the humanoid remnants is a lot of fun because the way you move across them is a lot more unique than, well, the worms being just a straight line. There is one in particular, this particular one being the third boss you fight, which carries a large sword, which originally when I thought was just a different part of the entity, something it was carrying around, only to find out that it was part of the entity. I was required to run across the sword, break a bunch of these little needles, and then get on the boss to actually hit its weak spot. This kind of was the moment of the game where I really started getting hooked because I realized it wasn't just worms. It was also kind of part of the game where the realm started becoming a little more entertaining to me, a lot more complicated, and there was a bunch of more stuff to interact with and explore. Another theme that you'll see a lot in this game are catchies. These catchies, or logs that you find throughout the game, are basically just ways to interact with the game and learn the game's lore. While it is extremely encouraged to look for all of these before you progress in the game, it is not required for you to actually play the game. These logs and character interactions tell a story throughout the game. And trust me, when you get to the end of the game, it's gonna all make sense. When I was playing through the game, I was mostly confused on the idea of the game. It did a really good job at making me think that I was just trying to save my world. Now, the catchies and the world interactables aren't exactly the same thing. The catchies give you a reward for finding them, and they're kind of usually hidden on the side of the main path of the game. while the interactables kind of tell the story of the realm that you're already in and of the characters that you're helping. Without further ado, I think that's it. If you want to show your support, I have my Twitch and Patreon down in the description. I'm live every day, and I post art mostly on my Patreon. But other than that, I think I'm going to start another Skyrim playthrough soon. I know I tried to do one, and it was a Conjurer only run. And I might just do that again because I had a lot of fun with it. I think some League of Legends on the side would also be a lot of fun. I have a lot of art projects for that game I need to do. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you guys either in stream sometime this week or next week when I post my next review video on God Eater 3. That will be my next game. Eye out for that game. Peace.